Hi everybody, welcome to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
Today we're going to be talking about a particular kind of music. We're going to get into jazz, but just in general, what kind of music do you enjoy? Who are some of your favorite bands and artists? Could be a long list for you.
It's a very long list for me. I like all kinds of music, from classical music to heavy metal and everything in between. Some of my favorite art, I don't know, the Beatles. I mean, I could probably listen to them till I die, but I have many others. What about you? Do you have any particular favorites?
Yeah, in terms of a band who were just really hitting big when I was growing up, the British dance act, the Prodigy.
Oh, okay.
And their kind of evolution from dance into kind of punk dance to all different stuff. Incredible live show.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely amazing to see live. So sadly, one of the main members passed away. There's only a couple of them left. They still do a bit of touring with the music, so I would love to try and see them again at some point. But yeah, they'll always kind of be my, because the bands you grow up with kind of remain at your number one. I've lots of other types of music I enjoy since. But
at the right time, you'll introduce your son to this band, and if he doesn't like them, you'll be very disappointed.
Nah, he'll have to be a bit older before he gets into some of that.
At some time in the future, there you go. But yeah, there are certain groups we loved our whole lives, and there's certain styles of music that people either love from their early days or might discover a passion for later on in life. And I think jazz might be one of those ones that people kind of get into a little bit later in life.
It's a little bit more complex in terms of what it does, and that's what we're going to be talking about in today's part, the first part of our article. Let's check it out.
Reading.
An introduction to jazz music. You've likely heard jazz music. It's often used in TV and movies, and jazz songs are still popular. But what exactly is jazz? Let's outline some things you'll commonly hear in jazz music. Stress on the offbeat. In most rock and pop music, each measure of music has 4 beats, and the first and third beats are usually stressed. In a lot of jazz, however, the second and fourth beats, known as the offbeats, are stressed. This helps give jazz its special feel and rhythm. Improvisation. In jazz, the lively melody is often made up on the spot. Yes, this can be difficult, but also a lot of fun. Bent notes. Jazz can often be a less serious form of music. One way that this is shown is with bent notes. These notes are a bit higher or lower than expected. This requires a skilled musician. After all, a bent note played the wrong way just sounds like the player made a mistake.
So we introduce our article by saying you've likely heard jazz music. I guess you may not have realized it. It may have been playing in the background in an advert, in a commercial, in a movie. In a hotel, you can hear some soft jazz coming through somewhere. You may not have realized it, but you've likely heard it. And here we're using our language in focus word, just likely. Now, when we use it as an adverb, we do so to say that something is probably true or probably the case. We can also use most likely to show it's a very, very, very big probability, or very likely to say that something is almost certainly true. You can also use it as an adjective, okay? Here's an example of it as an adverb. I have a lot of work, so I likely won't finish everything before 7 p.m. It is not going to happen. There's a very small chance. As an adjective, we could say, it is likely that I'll be late for dinner. You guys start without me. So just how we use it in the sentence, what we're modifying it, but it's talking about very strong possibilities.
Often we use the word probably in much the same way.
Exactly the same way.
I probably will be late for dinner. You guys start without me. That's the best bet. All right, so yes, you've likely heard jazz, as we said, in commercials and movies, in the soundtrack on a movie. or even out there in the world. It says it's often used in TV and movies, and jazz songs are still popular. That's true. Lady Gaga made a jazz album just a few years ago. So many musicians, even pop musicians, often go back to jazz or get inspiration from jazz. It's definitely a very important music genre. But we have a question.
But what exactly is jazz? It's going to be one of those that you could write a book to answer that question.
It's a good question, though, right?
Here we're using another adverb, exactly. And when we use exactly in this way, we mean precisely. We're not saying, kind of give me a general idea of what jazz is.
Yeah.
We want more detail. We want some facts. We want some things that maybe jazz has that other music maybe doesn't have. Really explain to me precisely in plenty of detail exactly what jazz is. For example, if you went into a shop, you might hear a shop worker ask you this: what exactly are you looking for? Maybe I can help you find it. So they're going to take you to the exact right bit of the shop where you'll get to see what you want to buy.
All right. Now, of course, we are talking about music, which I think someone said is sort of like dancing about architecture.
Ooh,
so,
fancy.
it's the best way to learn about jazz is to listen to some jazz. But we're going to be describing and giving you some basic ideas, basic concepts. As it says, let's outline some things you'll commonly hear in jazz music. But really, don't look at these as rules. It's kind of like saying, what is Chinese food? Well, that means a lot of things, and it can have a lot of different shapes and forms and flavors, just like jazz. But we're going to outline some main important ideas and things you'll find in jazz music. Let's look at this word outline. To outline something is basically just to briefly describe it, to use some words, not too many words, to give you a basic idea of something. When you think of a picture, if you think of the outside shape of the picture or the thing in the picture, that is the outline. I don't have to draw you a horse. I can just draw you the shape of the body of a horse, and you'll be able to look at it and go, oh, that's a horse. Well, obviously it's not. It's not even a good picture of a horse, but it's an outline. This is, of course, using it as a noun. So to outline is basically to give you just the basic idea in the same way that the outline of the horse gives you the basic idea of a horse. For example, can you outline your idea for this project?
So in this kind of outline, using it as a noun, will give you some fairly common features of jazz. You'll not find them in every jazz song.
Sure, of course.
But they will be reasonably common. And the first one of these is stress on the offbeat.
Ah, okay.
I have no idea what this means.
Well, this is basically how people count music, important especially for drummers and people like that who keep the beat, who keep the rhythm, who keep that part that gives you a regular sound that you dance to, for example. The article says, in most rock and pop music, each measure of music has 4 beats, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be 4/4 time. And the first and third beats are usually stressed. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how you would do it in most music. And also, if you go to eighth notes or double that, it would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And that's kind of how it goes in many, many, many styles of music. Everything from the music that soldiers would march to the music that pop bands would play.
Okay. Now, the article says, in a lot of jazz, however, the second and fourth beats, known as the offbeats, are stressed. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2,
exactly.
4. Okay, so that does give the whole thing a different...
Absolutely.
It doesn't feel the same.
And to give it an even more jazzy kind of feel, you can actually put it more on the upbeat, which would be the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And if you're listening to reggae or ska, it's that upbeat.
Right,
you're putting it on the and not on the beat that comes half a beat later. Now, this helps give jazz its special feel and rhythm. That's right. The rhythm of jazz can be a lot more interesting, complicated, and in many ways harder to dance to than the rhythm that you would find in many types of pop and rock and other styles of music. Now, rhythm, that's basically the beat. It's the repeated pattern, especially played on the drums and the bass guitar. As I said, it's the part that you tap your foot to, the part that you count to, the part that you dance to, not the part that you sing to, right? So this is just the beat, the rhythm, or the part that makes you tap your foot.
Okay, so that's our first thing about jazz. There is often stress on the offbeat, which has a different rhythm to the music. The next thing you'll often find in jazz is improvisation. Let's find out what that means. So improvisation, also pronounced improvisation, is doing things without planning. Because it kind of feels right. You make it up as you go along, you don't exactly follow the script, you sort of follow what's in your gut. Improvisation acting is you don't have lines to say, you just talk in what you feel is going to be a natural conversation. You listen to the other actors and you make a scene out of nothing without a script. Musically, this is the same idea. People are just doing kind of what they feel at certain times and points within the song. Certain instruments will do a bit, and then another instrument will do a little cool bit that they haven't planned, they haven't written it out before the song, they're just in the moment doing what they feel works.
So that's your improvisation, which of course you cannot do in classical music.
No.
In classical music, you play the notes on the paper. If Mozart wrote it, you play it. If he didn't write it, don't add in your own ideas. No improvisation in classical music. But in jazz, well, it says in jazz, the lively melody is often made up on the spot. That's right. Most of the musicians will start a song by playing a melody they all know. It's often called the head. Okay. And then you will go into each artist, each performer, each musician playing their own little solo, their own little creative idea, and they'll often trade. And then the end of the song, everyone will look at each other. Someone might actually point to their head, meaning back to the head. And then they play that melody that everyone knows, and that's how the song ends. But in the middle, yes, you'll have lots of lively improvisation and lively melodies being created on the spot. Let's look at this word lively. Lively basically means having a lot of energy, a lot of spirit, a lot of enthusiasm. It's not tired and boring and bland and ready for a nap. No, it just got out of bed. It's got a lot of energy. It is ready to go. When we think of lively music, we think of music that will make you tap your feet, dance, put a smile on your face. It's not going to make you sad and cry or anything like that. It's the opposite. For example, the band in the Irish pub played lively music for people to dance to. Yeah, they often do play lively music in pubs like that.
So here, when we're talking about the melody of a song, we just mean the tune of the song.
The part you sing.
Yeah, the bit you could sing to, the bit you could kind of hum along to as well. For example, you might say, I've had the melody of Jingle Bells stuck in my head for 2 days now. I'm going crazy. So the melody there is the dun 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 dun.
Stop!
Exactly. So that is it's the bit that most people will remember and be able to sing if they've heard the song enough times. They may not know the rhythm and the bass line so well, but they'll remember that main part.
Absolutely. And there might be other music going on, but that might not be playing the melody. It's playing other sounds that go well with the melody. The melody is that main strong tune, the one you sing. And then make up, this phrasal verb basically means to create, to imagine, to sort of have an idea and then go with it and create something new. Kids often make up their own games. If you're a top chef, you'll have to make up new recipes for your restaurant to serve. And anyone who's in any creative business, if they're a writer or a musician or a dancer, they have to make up new stories or new songs or new dance routines. They have to create them, because otherwise you're copying from people or stealing from people or something like that. But if you're making it up, it comes from your own creative mind.
Now, you can make things up over the course of, hours or days or longer. You do a little bit at a time. You think about it. You take your time. But if you make something up on the spot, you're doing it at that moment. There's been no planning. You're not really thinking about it. It's like going back to the improvisation. You're going with your gut, whatever feels right. This seems like a good idea. I'm doing it on the spot right now while I'm here with no planning or anything.
Wow, very, very creative, but also can be very exciting. As it says, yes, this can be difficult, but also a lot of fun. If suddenly someone turns to you and says, play something new, you have to kind of come up with something new, but that can lead to all sorts of wonderful ideas. And often the musicians will kind of be talking to each other with the music they're playing. So it can be really, really interesting.
I imagine this is the sort of thing where you really have to know all the rules first, and then you just go ahead and break the music rules.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got stress on the offbeat, we've got improvisation.
Yep.
The next one we're going to talk about is bent notes. Okay, interesting idea. What is this one?
Well, it says jazz can often be a less serious form of music.
Okay.
All right, maybe compared to classical music, people might say that, but it is still a very serious form of music. You can still go to university and study a 4-year jazz program. But yes, because of the improvisation, because it was played in nightclubs and not in concert halls, some people might say it's less serious than classical music. And there are certain things that, of course, jazz musicians can do that classical musicians are not allowed to do. And this is one of those.
Breaking the rules.
Breaking the rules.
All of those kinds of things. Well, one way that this is shown is with bent notes. Okay, but what is a bent note?
Well, a bent note is basically playing a note that's slightly off from the note maybe you should play. As it says, these notes are a bit higher or lower than expected. All right, so if you're supposed to play a D and you play a D sharp or a C sharp, a D flat, something a little bit lower, and then you slide into the note, that type of thing is very common in jazz. It's used as a way of expressing or giving a mood to a song, but you would rarely find them doing things like that in classical music.
However, you don't just do it by accident. This isn't the sort of thing you should do, so doing it at the right time and place, as the article says, this requires a skilled musician. Let's look at this verb require. To require means you need it. It's necessary. You have to have it. If you don't have it, it won't work. If you're just learning to play the guitar or something and you try to bend a note like this, it probably won't work. And if it does work, it was luck, not skill. You didn't really mean to do it. It's requiring a skilled musician. You might talk about what a job needs. This job requires 2 years of experience. It requires a degree in engineering. They are all the things you need to have to get this job. Here's another example. Fixing up this old car will require a lot of time and effort. So what we require here for these bent notes is a skilled musician.
Well, that would definitely help. If you're skilled, this adjective means you're really good at something. You've probably practiced a lot. Maybe it's a real passion of yours. Maybe it's something you've been doing almost your whole life. You've taken a lot of classes. You know a lot about this thing. If you're talented, that might be something that you were kind of born with. You just have a special brain that allows you to naturally be good at something. You can be skilled, though, without being too talented, just by practicing a lot, learning a lot, becoming a master of your craft, whatever that might be. But if you're talented and skilled, well, then you might become one of the best in the world. Bradley is a very skilled Candy Crush player. Yeah, his parents aren't super happy about that, but his friends think he's awesome.
But why do you need to be skilled to do these bent notes? Well, the article explains, after all, a bent note played the wrong way just sounds like the player made a mistake.
True.
Kind of. It wouldn't quite work.
Or they're doing experimental jazz.
Right. Oh, okay. That's another form. So again, this whole idea is learning what the rules are and then learning when to break them, how to break them, and what the consequence of breaking the rules will be. How will bending this note change the mood of the music? What will that mean for the other players in the band? Do I bend it again next time or bend it a different way next time?
Bend it up instead of bending it down.
Yeah, and all of that will communicate a different kind of feel to what you're doing. So I'm fascinated by this whole idea
it's a very fascinating music style.
Yeah, things to do with jazz. Now we're going to learn some more about jazz. We'll talk a little bit about its history, and we'll talk about some of the common instruments that will feature in a jazz band tomorrow. Right now, though, we're going to go to our For You Chat question.
For You Chat.
So our chat question asks, have you listened to jazz music or would you like to? Talk about it.
Okay. I've definitely listened to jazz music. I have not a great jazz collection at home, but maybe, a couple hundred things that I think are pretty good.
Couple hundred?
Yeah, probably. But jazz, it's like classical music. It's like golf. It's one of those things that once you really get into it, it can kind of take over your whole life because there's so much to know about it. But I think jazz is great to listen to at certain times. It's wonderful music in the evening when you're relaxed at home. Seeing it live is a whole other thing.
Yes.
Because you get to see the musicians interacting. So I would recommend jazz to everyone out there. And really, there are so many styles of jazz, from jazz funk to bebop to big band swing jazz. There's really a style that almost anyone would like.
Yeah, jazz is one of those types of music that I didn't get a lot of exposure growing up to.
Sure. Yeah.
My parents weren't big into it. My dad had a lot of blues, which is, a sort of almost like a distant cousin.
It's a parent of jazz.
Yeah, exactly. And he had a lot of kind of 80s rock, but he didn't have a lot of jazz. So I didn't really grow up listening to it and have a big passion for it, but I don't have much on my iPod or phone. I'll maybe have one or two that I'll listen to now and again. But if there's a live show, I'll be more interested in checking it out. I feel like I want to listen to this live and see what the people are doing. And I like it a bit more energetic and fun, not so much the slow stuff.
Okay, and of course, when you're seeing it outside, people often play it, so you dance and have a really good time. So yeah, I would recommend it. You can probably find all sorts of lists online about what are some great jazz albums to listen to for your first time. And once you do get into it, if it really appeals to you, it will be a lifelong passion. We're going to be learning more about this great style of music tomorrow. So we'll see you back here. Until then, bye-bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Exactly. That desk is exactly 130 centimeters long. I know because I measured it myself. Outline. Jack quickly outlined his plan to make his company grow. He wanted his employees to hear his ideas before he made any changes. Lively. The movie progressed quickly with the help of lively music. Melody. This song is popular with young children because the melody is easy to sing. Require. It requires a lot of skill and years of practice to play the guitar really well. Skilled. Lily is a skilled chess player who has won matches all over the world.
智慧小补帖
Rhythm. Improvisation.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net